a little more than 10 years after Lord of the World hit the shelves, the world actually was embroiled in its first global conflict. As the First Industrial War, World War I, unleashed destruction on a scale previously unseen in human history. More artillery shells were fired in 4 hours of the Meuse-Argonne offensive to retake France than were fired in the entire American Civil War on both sides. The war introduced devastating new industrial weapons. Mustard gas killed men by the thousands and also contaminated the earth whenever it was used, and flamethrowers were employed as weapons of terror for the first time. After being elected to a second term in office on the grounds that he had preserved American neutrality, President Woodrow Wilson began to push for America to enter the European conflict. He wanted the United States to play a pivotal role in winning the war so that he could shape the post-war world according to his vision of a utopian future. To accomplish this goal, Wilson put tremendous pressure on his armed forces to disregard sound military tactics in favor of quickly getting results. As a result, thousands of boys, many of whom had been in less than a week of training, were thrown directly into no man's land to face mustard gas and machine gun fire without regard for flanking or ambush. General John Pershing, the supreme commander of the American Expeditionary Force, ordered the officers under his command to shoot their own men if they retreated before the enemy. At one point in the Meuse-Argonne offensive, more than 550 Americans died each day for over a month. The massive casualties were written off as acceptable losses, sacrificed to Wilson's dream of a better world for all time. Meanwhile, on the home front, President Wilson found it necessary to silence opposition to his ideology. Under his administration, the Committee for Public Information censored the news that reached the ears of the public in order to maintain popular support for American involvement in the war. News of a devastating flu outbreak in the United States was suppressed so that Americans could focus on the war overseas. Pro-war vigilantes were employed in illegal search and seizure and arrest without charges. Public opposition to the war became a treasonable offense, and more than 2,000 citizens were prosecuted under the Espionage and Sedition Acts. Many conscientious objectors who dodged the draft remained in prison long after the end of the war. Ironically, President Wilson had found it necessary to suspend civil liberties in his own country in order to, quote, make the world safe for democracy.